Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Kofasamelika. We're looking into Matthew 27 verse 21 to 29, and this is a follow-up study to that. In the previous study, I spoke about how I entered into CS50 in 2020, completed the certificate of CS50 8 days after New Year's in 2021, and in 2023, then, which I haven't spoken about in my previous video, in 2023 I ended up studying ethical hacking, at which today I have 20 certificates on MOOC as an ethical hacker. So you can see now that King Charles is on 4 AI, and so is a pontiff in the Vatican 4 AI, and so am I. Last year, King Charles then gave Princess Catherine duties in the military in the Royal Navy, and so was the titles of Prince William upgraded. They were upgraded because I can already see that they're set up for what is to come, the work that is to come, when they're fighting for their own monarchy over what is going on in the world, with this wave that is happening as they deal with the scourges, heart disease, cancer, and ultimately consumption, which is tuberculosis. So you see now with my article of 2020, when I'm sorry I keep getting these giggles. I don't know where they're coming from, but it's almost like I'm being tickled in my stomach, and I keep getting these giggles. So I got my article in 2020 where I predicted 3 predictions. The first one being the fall of the Ottoman Empire on the 11th of August of 1840, and taking what happened in 2001, placing it in 2021, and over the events of these bombings, then predicting that there would be a rise and a rising up, or a Taliban insurgency, of which there was in 2021 when it was fulfilled. And I predicted that the second prediction was that there would be civil unrest in America, in Oregon, in Cape Town, in Pietermaritzburg, and in Zimbabwe as a 31. So these 3 places were places that I was looking at over the probability that there would be a civil unrest in these 3 places 2021, and that probability ended up hitting South Africa, which is Pietermaritzburg, when there was an anarchy in Gauteng, and mainly here in Pietermaritzburg, in the mall right next to the neighborhood I live in, and specifically mainly the malls that are in the rural areas, in these areas where there's just the majority of the people living in Pietermaritzburg, with many of the people living in the villages and in informal settlements in the township, where many of them went and they looted in these malls, and there seemed to be an anarchy to the fulfillment of my prediction. And the third prediction that I predicted was that there would be the second coming of Christ. Second coming of Christ being the first second coming. There's a series of second comings where the message comes down, and not only that, but something, an event happens, of which now we can see that event was the first Sunday law, where Adventists persecute other Adventists. So now you can already see that we're set for the destruction of Jerusalem. When President Biden and America and their administration almost just let it go in Afghanistan to fulfill where that event ended up being a fulfillment of the Taliban insurgency. But not only that, but it fulfills what Saddam Hussein was trying to create in 2001. When Saddam Hussein was creating what he was creating, a movement where people are separated from the government. And when people are separated from the government, people no longer depend specifically on the government. When people can execute judgment on other people without the government interfering in that. So now you can see that from the Biden administration alone, when you look at Daniel chapter 8 verse 13 and 14, you can already see that there is paganism and papalism and they're working together. When a president like President Biden is a president of America and he's not pagan, he's Catholic, you can already see that not only is that wound healed or that wound about to be healed, but you can see that paganism and papalism are willing to work together, meaning that when the Heruli, the Vandals and the Ostrogoths were put down in order to prepare for papalism to do the work in the days on the darkness or the dark days or 538 to 1798, that falling down of those three powers is restored. When you see back then in 508 that the Heruli, the Vandals and the Ostrogoths were removed in order for them to be 7 powers, that those 3 powers now in this day, when you look at President Biden's administration, those 3 powers now, we can say in 2024 especially, are restored. So not only is papalism healed with its wound in order for them to exercise their power in the world, but paganism is also restored in order for paganism to stand as an individual powerful power in the world, and papalism to stand as its own individual power in the world too. So President Biden is now put in jail. They hide him and they raise him up as a son of the father, Barabbas. But not only him, they raise me up as a daughter of the father, Barabbas too. I come in 2020 with an article and messages, and as I come in, I predict these 3 predictions. Adventism doesn't want to know. They don't want to know these predictions. And not only that, I end up personally falling in love with a man who supposedly is in the world as compared to them, because he's not in their church. So they put me together with this man, and they see that this man and I are representative of a couple that is to stand for the Sunday law. The Sunday law, they now, as I see it, fear. My articles put me as an Esther, but this Esther supposedly doesn't have a Mordecai. Where is my uncle when I'm an orphan? I don't have an uncle. Instead, I have this man from the world, or this man who is not an Adventist, who is here with me to help me in this kingdom. So this man now serves as Mordecai, and I don't know whether or not this man is going to marry me yet, because I'm not married to him. I don't know whether or not he loves me. I don't know anything about this man. I just know that I love him and that I'm alone here, of which I am, with a message that brings so much power, so much money, and so much glory in the world. I find myself alone. And Adventism couldn't just wait any second to put me as a daughter of the Father, Barabbas, and put me as Jesus Christ. And ultimately, now I stand as a person who has all of these problems onto me, everything that has to do with persecution and destruction put onto me, because I stand alone and I have to fight myself in these all of these powers, when I'm a Barabbas and I'm a Jesus the crucified, and I'm everything that sometimes when I look at I probably shouldn't be. Christ comes with a message in 2023, when King Charles and in England they put this whole insect phase to create an experience for me, and I have to go to Ezekiel 4 verse 4 to see what I should be doing. And I discover from there, from Ezekiel 4 verse 4, that what I should be doing is going back to Adventism, turn my face against them, and tell them that destruction is coming. Jerusalem is about to be destroyed. And as I do that, I not only just turn my face against them, I turn my face against Jeff's movement when they cast me out in 2020 because I was fallen in love with his son. And his son didn't want me to fall in love with him. And probably it could have been because I'm a black woman. I don't know. And I looked and I saw his son when his son did what he did to me, and then moved to Germany to go and get a woman who already had a child, which is something that I probably shouldn't know, but I do know because I was watching his activities all along to try and see how righteous is he to cast me out of the groups if he believes that they're gonna go to heaven, if I shouldn't go to heaven. But posting his picture on Instagram, and he didn't rebuke me once, he didn't rebuke me twice, and he already had rejected me so that I would be subverted, I would sin, and I would be condemned by an act I do not believe robs me of the kingdom of heaven. King Charles commits suicide in 2021. He commits suicide as he decides, and they decide in England, that they're gonna come and bring insects to me without any hope that I would survive, because they didn't know that I knew. Well, they didn't know that I wouldn't know what they were doing, of which I didn't know what they were doing. And unfortunately, I do not know yet, and I do not know now, and I probably will never know whether or not the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, was then it turned around and it slaughtered her. So you find that this insect phase is going on because these demons are up and about, and Adventism is playing a game, and they're playing a game with us because they're trying to evade their own prophecy of a Sunday law, and they've been preaching for years this prophecy, and now all of a sudden they want to act like these Bautistas and these John Cenas who can evade their own Sunday law, a test that they know was gonna come, and send it to people who they think are doing the Sunday law, in order for those people to be them and them be those people. President Joe Biden has a problem now in Afghanistan. Post 2021, he has a problem in Afghanistan, and they've left over $7 billion worth of military equipment, and people live there which they've had to and still have to, and I think they've already rescued in Afghanistan today. The Taliban bring a decree, which brings me to my understanding of the decrees. I then recognize that at 9/11 there is a first decree, which is Cyrus's decree. At the midnight cry is the second decree, which is Darius, and at the Sunday law is the third decree, which is Artaxerxes' decree for the rebuilding of Jerusalem. When you look at these decrees, you can see that what Cyrus started, Darius reaffirms. What Darius reaffirms, Artaxerxes completes. This is a rebuilding of Jerusalem as I speak about it. And when I think about this and I consider myself now as Esther, Queen Esther, who is a moth, as I see myself in the message of the hour, but obviously I'm not in Jeff's movement because they cast me out, so I'm probably an insect of his movement. So I'm a message of the hour insect, a moth. I stand now, and Queen Elizabeth, what she started at 9/11, which was almost like a beheading, I reaffirm as I speak about the destruction of Jerusalem. And that destruction of Jerusalem goes both to destroy and bring an experience to the temple and the city. The temple being the church of God, which could also be our bodies as an experience, and the city being a man, which should also be the city of Jerusalem, being a country. It could be a literal country. You see that at the midnight cry. Now if we're sitting here now, and now is the ending of the binding off period for the priests. It started at midnight, and midnight being 2021. You can see at the midnight cry, beginning from 2025, that it's National Sunday Law, where they place policies after policies in America in response to this Sunday Law, where Adventism brought it to other Adventists, or Adventism take it to people who are in the world. That next year, 2025, people in the world want to bring a response to what they've done and start up policies and policies, or judicial and legislative authority, judicial and legislative, and the change of laws as they put up a national Sunday law, the first Sunday law among many of these Sunday laws that are gonna come up to end up in the ultimate destruction of Jerusalem, the time of trouble, when there's a worldwide Sunday law. So you can see now that it was a time of the Protestants. But since it's a time of the Protestants, you can see that from next year it's the radicals. And it's the radicals because of the Queen Esther, because it's my time next year as a star to shine bright. And the darker it goes in the night, the brighter the light will be shining. And you can see also now that in the destruction of Jerusalem, Queen T will be in power, which is a Catholic church. So you can see that Queen Mary will complete the job. If you like prophecy, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I hope to see you in the next video.